Hi, I'm John with Pam Golding Properties in Mauritius, and I'm here with Jaysen Nundoosingh from Absa Wealth, and he is the head of Absa Wealth. And today we're just going to discuss banking at large for foreigners looking to open up accounts and operate banking structures on the island. And I'm just here to ask him a few questions on the day. Jaysen, firstly, thank you for making the time available. Jaysen and I have known each other for a long time, and we've operated around each other because very often property and banking converge, and we get to spend a fair amount of time together, and I'm very glad that you've made your time available to us. Maybe we can just start with the history of Absa on the island and your role in that history.
Sure. Thanks, John. We've been operating on the island for more than 100 years, and the bank operates around 3 lines of business. So there's the corporate banking side, there's the retail side, and also the wealth side. So I'm responsible for our wealth business here in Mauritius. We've been operating now for a few years, and within the wealth, there's 2 client sets, the onshore clients and offshore clients, so residents and non-residents.
Thanks, Jaysen. So I think let's start off with that. I think let's start off with the residents versus non-residents, just for the audience. A resident could be both a Mauritian person, or alternatively, it's a foreigner living on the island and have a residence permit. So Pam Golding operated on the island, and part of our offering through a purchase of property is to get permanent residence on the island. And I think we can start there. As a resident on the island, what would some of the advantages be for those individuals looking to bank in Mauritius?
Of course. So maybe I take a step back, John, in terms of what the offering is within our wealth business. There's 3 broad categories of products which we offer. The first one is cash services. So this is your day-to-day banking. You can open your bank account in multiple currencies and conduct your day-to-day banking to pay off your expenses. So that's cash solutions which we have. The second solution is with regards to credit solutions, and this talks more to mortgages, your line of activity, which is mortgages. Again, within credit solutions, there's a short-term solutions, your overdrafts type of facility, credit cards, for example. There's another short-term credit facility. And then there's the mortgages, which I'll come back to a little bit later. And then the third one is the investments piece. So we have a very active investments business, where of course we manage client assets through global investment solutions. So these are the 3 broad categories of services which we offer. Now, going back into what those resident clients have access to, it's across the board. There's 3 categories. All of them are available. Now, if I can just extend that a little bit towards the non-residents, so the offshore clients, we've seen over a number of years, the last couple of years, there's more and more convergence in terms of what the product set is, be it for a resident client and a non-resident client. So to a very large extent, John, a lot of those services available to onshore clients are also available to offshore clients.
Okay.
So there's a lot of convergence there.
Good. Interesting. Well, let's keep on that a little bit, because I mean, do you see more growth for Absa through the resident space, or are you seeing it more on the sort of offshore, from the offshore point of view? Because we're seeing a lot of growth through residents in Mauritius, so the foreign community is growing substantially, and I would imagine that's a good audience for you, along with the sort of Absa's ability to maybe into the domestic market. But where are you seeing the interest? Is it more on the sort of offshore foreign side of it, or are you finding it more on the sort of residents onshore side?
Yeah. Both are equally important. The domestic market is very important because there's a number of high net worth individuals. There's a very vibrant community, if I can put it like that, and they keep on investing. So that domestic market absolutely is important. But it is to a large extent established. It's been here for a number of years. Now, on the non-resident side, that's probably our fastest growing market segment.
Okay.
One of the things that we do through this business here in Mauritius, the wealth business which we run, is actually a wealth hub. So it's a point of convergence for Absa, where we actually use the Mauritius jurisdiction to aggregate our client assets, those who want to externalize assets into Mauritius, given the advantages of Mauritius as an IFC. Certainly, that presents a number of opportunities beyond the domestic market. So we are very active in the South Africa-Mauritius corridor.
Okay.
In Absa, the brand travels very well, and we absolutely have a very important position in the marketplace in South Africa. And clients who wish to externalize into Mauritius, definitely they come through to us. And you would notice that clients externalize for a number of reasons, diversification and property. So Mauritius fits very well into that space.
So maybe just talk a little bit about Mauritius and in the IFC space and some of the advantages that someone, let's just take a South African person, might have over externalizing funds or investments into Mauritius, and what makes this an attractive destination?
Yeah, for a number of decades now, Mauritius has definitely been a reference point for South Africans. So there's an active community, be it business or otherwise, who always come through to Mauritius. So first and foremost, Mauritius is a destination which is well known to the South African community. It is not somewhere completely out. It's just 3 or 4 hours away by plane. This is number one. And there are a couple of flights a day, if I'm not mistaken. That's number one. So connectivity is number one. The second thing, of course, is there's no issues in terms of language. We speak English fluently here. So our ability to communicate with our clients is very fluid. That's equally important. The third thing, of course, is when clients externalize their deposits or their assets with us, there are no foreign exchange restrictions in Mauritius, which means you can buy and sell your foreign currency and make your transfers without seeking any particular authorization from authorities. You just have to make sure your paperwork is correct and it's very clear what your instructions are, and you can move your money globally from Mauritius. And this is a very important point. I think another one is the stability and the maturity of Mauritius as an IFC, John. So Mauritius is a very well-established IFC, International Financial Center, and it is definitely a critical point where flows cross each other into and outside of Africa, for example. So other parts of the world, Mauritius definitely is
connectivity is there.
Point of connection. And the political stability and safety is one big thing. Access to good schools is one thing. Access to quality property absolutely is another thing as well. So all of that makes Mauritius a very attractive destination.
And it's still relatively affordable.
Yes.
I think you're not banking in some of the offshore areas that are very expensive to bank in, have high sort of minimum deposits that you need to hold on to. So I think it allows clients to grow out of Mauritius. And I think the flexibility once the funds are here to move around is sort of a fairly important thing. I'm going to pivot back just to property quickly. One of the interesting things that I've utilized here in the market is when you own property and you're looking to make another acquisition, the interesting thing in that process is you can do an equity release out of the bank. So you own one property, that property may in all likelihood have no mortgage on it, and now you basically want to effect another purchase. So the first property may become a rental property and the second one might be an upgrade and the second one might be for personal use. Historically, what people had to do is sell the first property and then purchase another property. What we find very popular here is clients prefer to hold on to the first property and then they would like to release some equity from that property as part of the process for the next property. It works quite well because if a person's buying offshore again and he's buying off plan, what it allows him to do is basically use some of the equity he might have in South Africa or another part of the world, use the equity release that basically Absa can make available, and then that gives them time to make later payments. So if a person is moving from, let's say, a property of $500,000 and they want to move to $1 million and they can release around $400,000 of that funding, it becomes a much easier route to transfer out. And I think that might be interesting for clients just to understand. They already own property, they might want to make another investment. How does that process work with the bank?
There's been sufficient track record now, so we've started to understand that client base. Because the whole point is you design products in anticipation of what your client preferences are. You're right, a lot of clients who came through in the first wave were cash buyers. And absolutely, there's been substantial increases in value in a lot of those properties. So that's the big thing. So equity has been created on top of the initial buy price. There is an equity pump. That's number one. The second thing as well is, even from a rental perspective, John, you would notice better than me, the yields are quite attractive. There are certain properties, of course, where you get very attractive yields, always in high demand, maybe compared to other types of properties in that distribution. But the bulk of it, you've seen growth in the value of real estate, so properties itself, and definitely every year we see that the yields clients are getting on the rental property it keeps increasing. All what I'm trying to say is value is being created through property acquisition. So yeah, people came in, they bought cash, we've tested the market, we've seen what the returns are, and now maybe they want to do another acquisition. They want to buy another one. And a classic route for us, and we are very active in that South African client-based investor in Mauritius, is equity-based, which means they bought a property for $1 million, they want to buy something else now, maybe for $1.5 million and something like that. And there's sufficient value in that $1 million. Plus, there's been repayments over the last couple of years, so the loan value has gone down, the outstanding, and they do a drawdown. So they would come to us and say maybe they want a mortgage for $750 or something like that. We'll assess the value, the ability of the client to repay, we'll do a valuation, and then we'll run the application form and make that credit line available. We've done this, we do this regularly, and it's a very nice route to making that second investment when it comes to property. Yes.
And I think it's also from a client's point of view, like very often the first property is just, they buy something, they have a bit of interest in Mauritius, they use it part-time, but then people evolve, their needs change, and the big thing is a lot of people then decide to retire in Mauritius, and when you enter the retirement phase, very often they're selling their primary residence in another where they might be living, they've got some equity from that, but ultimately they're also looking to retain some revenue on the island. So the first property then becomes something that looks after living expenses, the second property then becomes a property that they choose to inhabit, and it solves the solution from both sides. They can basically fund the property through the other property, and then with time, through the rental, pay that property off and then retain the primary residence that they've now purchased. Just looking at the mortgage opportunities here, I think every time I've looked at it, the debate's been, do I go dollars, do I go euros, do I go rupees? I've always pivoted back to rupees. It just feels like the safer option.
Yes.
I think for South Africans, they maybe feel a little bit more comfortable in rupees than maybe USD or EUR. And I think what's also happened, which is interesting, is the rates are very similar now. So historically, you might have got the dollar or the euro at around sort of 2.75 to 3%, and you would have got the rupee at about 5%. Now you've got you've got all the currencies sitting around sort of 5%. So maybe you can just, just let us have some thoughts from yourself on what you would suggest to clients.
It is very much a case-to-case basis, but generally though, the trend that I've seen, we do offer mortgages in those currencies. You can have in dollar or in rupees and pounds. But what we've seen though is clients end up reverting and taking that credit facility in rupees. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Yes, there's a bit of a convergence in interest rates, sure. However, when it comes to rupee mortgage solutions, there's a lot more flexibility available. Mauritius is the rupee-based economy. The banks carry large balance sheets in rupees, which means our ability to deploy those rupees are maybe a lot more favorable compared to other hard currencies. So for example, you can take a rupee solution with us on a much longer tenor compared maybe to other currencies. The ability to repay back, of course, and to do bulk repayments on those is easily done without any repayments. The ability to withdraw as well is very flexible when it comes to rupees. So we see a lot of clients opting for rupee solutions when it comes to those mortgages. This is number one. And I think the other behavior we've noticed in clients as well, John, is they earn hard currency.
Yeah.
So they earn dollars, they earn their euros, which still is a base currency for them in terms of their foreign earnings. And then what they tend to do is just convert the amount that they need on a quarterly or half-yearly basis in rupees and use that amount to service the loan, which means their exposure is not fully, translated into any particular risk. They still remain diversified into those multiple currencies. So their earning savings tends to be in hard currency,
Yeah.
but the loans obviously is in rupees, given the flexibilities that I've explained. And we keep seeing this confirmed.
Yeah, and I think also if they're going to be renting the property out, they'll be probably renting in rupees.
Yeah.
So at least they're servicing rupees with rupees.
You match it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for your time. It was just a nice chat, nice to catch up, nice to just find out from Absa, where they're in the market, what they're doing. And if we have clients or you have clients, we're open to talk to anyone that would like to either look at the banking section, look at the property section. So I'm John from Pam Golding. Thank you, Jason from
Pleasure.
Absa, and thanks for spending time with us.
Thank you, John.
Okay.